What's up, Sorks? Let's check out the brand new toys that we're getting in Season 5 and the updates to the previous uniques that are kind of reworked and essentially brand new. I want to start off the video with the brand new or updated uniques. So these ones are brand new. They were in the PTR, but some of them got kind of reworked here. So for starters, the one that I actually am the most excited about are going to be the Axial Conduit. These are the brand new pair of pants they give us now. Don't look at the one on the left, by the way. We're looking at the one on the right because that's the newer updated one. So we have Resource Gen and Maximum, I guess, like mana, which is actually a pretty good stat, meaning that you're going to be able to scale a lot of this, and this could be actually pretty good to maybe combo with like the Lockhorn's Talisman, because you're going to get more resources, so more crit strike damage. And then one thing that's really nice is we have this chance for the Chain Lightning to cast twice. That actually got buffed. And then we also have some flat damage reduction. I mean, this got tripled. That's a pretty massive buff. I mean, if you get this to be greater affix, wow, you're really looking solid. Then we have ranks to Chain Lightning, which is really good. And then for the special power, we have Chain Lightning that's going to alternate and orbit between you and the enemy. So it goes to the enemy and it goes to you, then it goes to the enemy and goes to you. Really cool stuff indeed. And then after draining some sort of set damage, it's going to deal a massive amount of damage. They have buffed Chain Lightning in multiple different areas. Who knows if this is going to be the God tier build or if it's just going to be trash. On the PTR, it was honestly pretty trash unless you had specifically the Crown of Lucian. And if this still works with the Crown of Lucian, because they didn't update it, this could still be the best build in the game. They mentioned that they fixed the bug with the Druid, but they never mentioned the bug fix with like the way that it was interacting with the Chain Lightning and the Crown of Lucian. So if you could somehow get your resources to be good enough, I honestly think this could be legitimately the best build in the game. Again, that's counting, even with the nerfs, the damage was like in the quadrillions. Like, even if it gets nerfed by, let's say, it's 50x damage that you lose out on. So you still lose out on some damage, but it's still a pretty big multiplier. I think this is still going to be something that people will want to build. Now, unfortunately, Vox Omnion still kind of sucks. So we have Lucky Hit Chance now, but then it's supposed to cast our like basic skills, which you can already have gotten before. Because how it works is when you use a core skill, it shoots out 2. I've already mentioned several times, this item literally did not work on the PTR. And then you would have the projectiles shoot out to the side, so you just miss your target. I don't think this thing's going to be very good at all, especially because it's a two-hander, and you get up to 90x, which is kind of good, because on average, every aspect is about like 20 to 30%, so it's a little bit better here, but it really limits you on what you can do because it uses your last 2 non-core skills, which basically means you're not really playing anything that you want to. It's going to be super difficult to play. I already have multiple videos on this item. Unfortunately, for my personal opinion, I don't think it's good. So the point of this video is also kind of like an analysis, and it's not only just showing off the newer stuff, but there are some cool things here. So let's get started with going from the top. Fresh Winterglass is looking solid, okay? So one thing that's really cool, we get more non-physical damage. We also get chance for Frozen Orb projectiles to cast twice, so more Frozen Orbs, better. And then we have Conjuration skills cooldowns are reduced over here, but then why would you want to cast a Conjuration if you're just shooting out Frozen Orbs? I don't know if there's going to be some other cool builds that emerge off of this, though, so then you would then spam your Conjurations in between Frozen Orbs. Could be a cool idea. We'll have to wait and see how this is going to kind of play out. It has a little bit of potential with, like, what is that, a Lightning Spear, too? Maybe you can even do some like Ice Blades sort of build. I like the idea of it. It's cool because you get plus ranks to Conjuration Mastery. Then we have Frozen Orb has a chance to actually spawn in a random Conjuration when it explodes. This number got changed over here. So it used to be 35 to 50, and now we're 35 to 65, so a little bit of a buff. The original one was 70 though, so it still is an overall nerf. But the Conjurations have up to a 90% chance. Now, this sounds good, but remember, a lot of these Conjurations are like 2-3%. So it 2-3%, and then it has to proc off of 90. So it's like, I should have just read 100% of whatever it was, because it's so low anyways, right? But at the end of the day, it is pretty nice. I think the nicest buff with this is this projectiles to cast twice. If you get this greater affix masterwork, it could actually look pretty decent. So Frozen Orb looking pretty solid. Esu's Heirloom got a 10% buff over here, as well as some more crit strike damage with some all resists. I don't know why they even threw this on here. This is kind of weird, because then you still have mana problems. My suggestion would probably be just play Raknos. Raknos will give you like non-fizz damage, which is like really solid, plus cooldown reduction, which is another good thing. To get this small amount of crit, remember, it's not just, you'd have to get, it's percent of your movement speed bonus. So you'd have to have maxed out 100% movement speed, and then you would get it. Now, if you do combo with other things, you can get your movement speed up. So if you can get this up there, it can be good. good, but you're going to have to heavily invest in it. I just don't know why they moved and gave us all resistance, because Sorc definitely does not need all resistance. But the other stats on it, I mean, movement speed's good. It's just, you get a little bit more stats, but is it worth sacrificing the aspect? There are other ways to get a lot of crit in the game, like running any of the combinations with like Ancient Flame stuff. But nonetheless, it's a nice buff. Rayman Infinite didn't really get changed too much. It just got a little boost on, plus another rank of Glass Cannon. We get extra intelligence. Cool stuff. It's still going to be a solid item. It's probably one of the best items in the game for Sorc. It's a small little buff, but the thing that I never really liked was that like the cooldown of teleport got increased. I don't like that. I wish it would go maybe decreased. That'd be really cool. Be a nice buff. Here's where we get excited. All right, so I think Fireball may be one of the top tier builds, especially for speed, because they are buffing the speed at which it travels, which is really good. Now, I'm not sure how that interacts with the way that the special power on the Glove Illuminator works, because it lets the Fireball bounce, right? I'm assuming that it has some sort of duration. I don't know if that's via, like, from where you casted it, or it's like it has some sort of projectile speed, so the faster that it moves, the longer that it can go, meaning that the more bounces you could get. Again, I'm going to have to wait and test that out, because that actually is a pretty big deal, because it has +2 in mana when a fireball explodes, and when you make it go faster, if this bounces more times, that is more mana and more damage, potentially, and faster clear speed. Then we have some crit over here. It already had crit. We got, for, you know, small little buff over there. We got fireball attack speed got a buff. The main cool thing is like +2 to mana when fireball explodes, and of course it's like the rest of the stuff is pretty much the same. And then they got a buff on the fireball, making it so it goes to 30 to 0. So basically you make it so it doesn't even have any downsides, which I think is excellent, because it basically just means when fireball casts twice, well, it actually can hit one target pretty much twice. It's very rare though that you're going to hit the same target 3 times, unless it's a big like giant boss. Like, I don't know, if there's Duriel, you can maybe hit him 3 times, but for the most part, you're looking at basically doubling your DPS with just this alone. But then before, you would have a -30 at the very end. Now you don't have that minus, or 20 or 30, whatever. At the very end, you don't have that anymore, which is great. Really solid item overall. Then Flaming Weaver took a nerf on attack speed, so they cut that in about half. So it went from 16.5 to 9. So we lost out on that. We get Firewall size, which I don't really feel like matters, because you don't really need Firewall size, but I guess it's a little bit more consistency. Then you have Firebolt projectiles to cast twice. This is a nice little buff, though. And then we have a Pyromancy skill, so you can maybe try to run it on other things. Maybe if you're playing like a Firewall build, I'm assuming that counts as Pyromancy. Then you have Firewall size. So maybe you can try it, but then you're losing out on the aspect if you wanted to play a pure Firewall build. But it's still one of the best builds in the game, and it's a small little buff, right? You go from 70x to 100x. Cool. Starfall Coronet. I almost feel like this is bait, because it sounds really good. +6 to Meteor. You get that greater affix, right? +9 to Meteor. I mean, that is crazy damage, right? Then we also get Meteor size, which means you may be able to hit the targets multiple times, because it's going to draw more meteors. But the main thing I never really enjoyed with Starfall Coronet is that it has a cooldown, and having a cooldown on your main damage dealer is never what I feel like is good in a video game, unless you actually have other things to utilize to ramp up. Maybe you can use some basic skills, increase the next core skill, and since all the masteries now count as core skills, you can maybe try to do something with it. But I feel like overall it's going to feel bad. It might do okay-ish damage, but again, it's the feel of like having to wait. Maybe if you get it down really hard. Keep in mind, the max amount of cooldown reduction you get is 75%, so if you can get it down to 1 second cooldown, I think people would enjoy it, but that's like so much work, and for the average player, yeah, 75 CDR is not easy. But we do have Harlequin that did get a buff. You'd have to get on your amulet. It is a definite thing that I would consider towards the very, very end, when you have like gold that just to burn to reroll stuff, because you need you would need to get this to get masterworked. You would also need to get greater affixes on cooldown reduction, get a Harlequin with it. Like, I'm just kidding, you can't play Harlequin in this at the same time anyway, so you lose out. Okay, that makes it even worse now that I'm thinking about it, because I was just thinking, okay, the things that give you the most CDR, you wouldn't even be able to run that on it, so that's even worse. And yeah, I just don't see this being really good. It's going to be really difficult to get the cooldown up to 75%, almost impossible. And therefore, you'd have to cast, wait, and then you cast. Again, I don't think people will want to play it unless you run something else that can give you like instant cooldown reduction. I believe you can get cooldown reduction if you use basic skills, but again, I don't think people really want to play that. But if you did run that, it is possible. But next up, we got the Ice Heart Brass. So we got Frost Nova Size on it. That's a little newer change. We got Increase of Life. Cold Res, what? Resistance doesn't matter on Sorceress at the end game, because you're going to get it anyways, but we have Shatter Damage Echo, so I guess that's kind of cool. It's new. Then enemies, while frozen, have up to a 40% chance now, so that's kind of nice. This is back in like season 0, season 1, where like Ice Shards was the cool thing to play on Sorceress, but I think now we've evolved past that. I don't think people will be inclined to really try it out, because it is sacrificing a lot. It's, sacrificing another aspect for it, but getting the Frost Nova Size, I mean, it could be really good for clearing out stuff, but I think people that are playing Cold Sorc will probably be more interested in the buffs that Blizzard is getting, and Blizzard can freeze things actually quite often, but Ice Shards is the one that really benefits off of like freezing the enemies and shooting everything out. But if you want a speed build, which is kind of how this is similar related, because that's how it would work, you would freeze everything, then it would pop, and then you just get these chain reactions. Really cool. Fireball just does the job better. If you've ever played Fireball, you know what I'm talking about. When you have the Fireball enchant, you kill one thing and it just causes domino chain reaction. It's the coolest thing, and there's no chance. That's what I really hate. If this thing just had 100%, I think it'd be more exciting to play. But then you get to the boss and it's just like a useless item, right? Where you could have just gotten something with like int and all the other good stats. Next up though, we got Blue Rose. Blue Rose is actually a really good item. We have a massive amount of crit, we got cold damage, ice spike damage, and the thing that really makes this good, getting this greater affix, chance for ice spikes explosions to cast twice. You get that greater affix. We're looking at a pretty good amount of extra bonus damage. I think Blizzard will actually be maybe like an A tier build, maybe A or B tier with this newer addition here. Same thing with like Frozen Orb. Those are like really good things to maybe consider. And then we got Tall Rashas over here. We did lose out on one thing, which is the resource gen. We get Potent Warding, which is okay, and then we also get cooldown reduction, which is great. We got more bonuses to non-physical. This is a really great stat for Sorcs. And then for each type of bonus over here, it goes up to 80 versus 60, and realistically, most people will never hit 60 anyways. Realistically, you can get the effects pretty easily via like cold, lightning, and fire, but the others are really hard to get. If you want to get the shadow, you usually have to sacrifice like an aspect or something else for it, or if you run on your weapon, a chance to deal some other like temper on it, but then you lose out on your temper, so it still becomes awkward. You're almost like losing out on another stat here. But if you can get it up over there to 80, that's a pretty decent damage bonus, as every single build will be playing Tal Rashas for the most part. It's kind of like one of those, you play Sorc, it's great, because again, it gives you cooldown. I wish the cooldown got buffed up a lot more. We got a 1% increase. If they gave us like a 5%, it would be so much better, because Sorc is a class that heavily relies on it, and then for no reason, towards I believe this was the end of Season 4, they're like, teleport cooldown got increased. Like, why? It's just like, I didn't like that change. Next up, flamescar. This is kind of a problematic item, as no one really wants to play something that holds still, and then they gave it Lucky Hit, and Lucky Hit doesn't even work correctly on the item, and the reason why is because how it works with most of the channeling skills is your first activation is where the Lucky Hit activates. After that, it just doesn't proc. If you run the little like embers, these don't count as direct damage nor damage over time. I don't know why it's set up this way, but that's what it works. And these can also crit, which is cool, but I don't think that this damage number is enough. Again, the damage number, though, it depends on who's looking at it. I'm assuming they buffed this, but I don't know if that's going to matter. I mean, I hope this is great, but, just from initially looking at it, okay, we get plus up to 1 more maximum rank of Incinerate. We get Incinerate size. Lucky Hit doesn't matter on the item, though, because unless you're, like, spamming it, which is not fun to play. You do the same thing with, like, Whirlwind, but Whirlwind doesn't even play with Lucky Hit. It's to activate, like, the Tyraels, right? But with this, I just don't see this being good. I mean, at the end of the day, technically, this is one of the better things for PvP, because Dot is pretty busted in PvP because it doesn't scale damage properly. But as far as this goes, I don't see this becoming good. Like, I don't think it needed this. It should have been Lucky Hit chance to deal any amount of damage. Like, if it did, like, poison, shadow, and just like any sort of damage, then like you have Tal Rashas that can activate, and then there'd be a reason to keep on like activating it. But because again, Lucky Hit chance doesn't work with Incinerate, because it only works off the first cast, and then it just like kind of just, I don't know if it just gives you such a low amount that doesn't like register, or it just doesn't register, but it's just, there's definitely something broken with it. Hopefully they can fix that though. Oculus, this is an item I was actually excited with. So we get +3 maximum evade charges, which is great. Then we have attacks reduce evade cooldown. That's another new stat. We can get this combined with, I believe it's a Flicker Staff that also gives you, there's another pair of boots that gives you evade cooldown reduction. So we get doubling up in that. I mean, that's 3 seconds per. So you can hold down your Arc Lash or any skill that basically can be activated continuously. And then you can spam teleport, and you might actually have a cool build. Now, I actually tried building the teleport build. It's a 1%er to do like relatively low tier content. So basically open world. Don't expect to do like pit 100s with this. But with this newer change, because I was talking about this, like teleport got like a 400x increased damage or something, and I was thinking in my head, this is crazy. When they updated, I'm like, there's no way this doesn't become like an S tier build, and it's all additive damage. There's another set of huge additive damage, but now that you can get this greater affix, right? We're looking at basically 1,000 damage. If you give this, like we're looking at Diablo 3 numbers right now. Like this is crazy amount. It's technically additive still, but maybe we can make this good. We also got teleport Nova size. We got rings to teleport. I do want to try this out again. I mean, this is probably a bait build, but I'll let you guys know if it's worth investing into, as I've always wanted to build a teleport only build where we just get to deal damage. The problem though is that you still don't get to control a teleport, but I think it could still be kind of fun at the end of the day. But you're going to need massive amount of cooldown reduction. In fact, I could probably tell you it's still probably pretty bad, because doubling up the damage, even if let's say we get like essentially double damage, right? We get like 1,000, right? This is additive. So that's why I'm considering, like, let's say in the best case scenario, we get like double the damage that we were doing before. It's still not going to do pit 100, and you still can't control it. I just really wish it said, like, your teleport just has no cooldown and it costs mana. Just make it like Diablo. What was it? Was it Unstable Separate? That might have been the thing that explodes twice. Aether Walker, that's what it was called in Diablo 3. Just give us the infinite teleport, and then people may actually be inclined to playing this. Next up, though, we got Staff of Endless Rage. Like I said, Fireball looking pretty solid. We got +6 ranks to Fireball, get a GA, +9 to Fireball. That's really sexy. And then we've got like this Fireball projectile twice. And then this is what I thought was insane. If speed actually gives us more like bounces, that's more resource, then we got another 170 fire damage. That's like 135, right? Bonus damage. It's additive, but still cool. It's still just like better, and that doesn't even have to roll. You're getting that every single time. And then it's got the same ability, but it's 90x. Now, it's on every third cast, so like realistically in terms of numbers, you would think, okay, well that basically becomes divided by 3, right? You're looking at like 30x damage on 200. That's garbage. The way it would actually math out is because you would technically get those other like double projectiles, right? And so since you get the additional damage and it launches 2, if those do overlap, you're looking at basically like double the damage, right? So it's actually not that bad. Again, you're still sacrificing the two-handed aspect and the tempers, but the tempers don't really matter because this is what you'd want to put on a temper anyways. So I think that the Staff of Endless Rage will be actually really good, combining with the Gloves of Illuminator, and I think that you may be able to. I'm going to test it out because there's a lot of lucky hit chance for Fireball to actually gain a resource, is one of the things. And if we can get it to bounce multiple times and get these little explosions to give us mana, I want to say that you may be able to Crown of Lucian this build, and any build that can run Crown of Lucian is going to be ahead of a lot of different builds. So I'm going to probably consider like Fireball probably S tier build. Staff of Liam Essen, this thing has always been pretty bad. I never saw Charge Bolts being good, and then they nerfed it out of nowhere back in Season 4. We're getting some int, which is cool. We get the extra thing, and then this is a massive amount of resource cost reduction. So I was thinking, okay, off the top of my head, I'm like, okay, Crown of Lucian. I want to test it out. I don't see it being really that great. I mean, we get another 20x damage. Do I think 20x damage is going to make this like Charge Bolts finally good now? I just don't see it. I think a lot of people built it in the past and probably got burned by it, and they're like, nah, I'm going to try it again. Same thing with like Essador's Overflowing Cameo. What's the next side? I don't know if any of you guys tried playing Crackling Energy. Crackling Energy never's been good. You got other, 500% damage Diablo 3 numbers. Is it going to be good? Nah, I don't think so. We got a massive amount of like int though, which is cool, but upon click the Crackling Energy, you get this Lightning Nova. This Lightning Nova is pretty laughable considering it's a 15% chance to proc. It could be 100%. It would still be bad because you don't have any like cool aspects or anything that like boost up their Lightning Nova damage. And it's so weird the way this is designed. You give us Crackling Energy damage, but then like the whole thing summons Lightning Nova. So like what's the point of scaling this? If they just said plus lightning damage, cool, because then we have Lightning Nova, lightning damage, good. But now it's like, okay, do I want to scale Crackling Energy, or do I want to pick these up in some of these other things, right? Now, it does give us a bonus for every 100 int that we have, and there's a lot of other things that it's giving percent intelligence. Also over here, we're getting intelligence, but would you really want to run this and then try to fit in Crackling Energy? Like, it's just too hard. So at that point, I don't know if this is going to be viable. I think it's maybe a skip in my book. But I'm curious to know, what do you guys think about these newer Sorceress items and updates? What do you plan to play? For me, if you're asking me what I'm going to start off with when I start off the season, Rogue is going to be my first starter, and then I'm going to be definitely playing Sorceress, and I'm going to definitely play Fireball. That would be my recommendation for you guys as well. Definitely check out Fireball, as, I mean, the amount of like bonus damage that you get with Fireball and the speed at which you can clear out content is bar none. Fireball is like the fastest Sorceress build pretty much in the game, I would say, in terms of clear speed. Technically, Ball Lightning in Season 2 is really, really good too, but if you look at like the overall clear speed, Fireball was actually superior, but it didn't have the damage at the highest tier of content, so maybe we'll see what comes out with this, but I would say Fireball is something new to play that I would be looking forward to. But if you're playing Sorc, let me know what you plan to start off with. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to see an update to this in the future, we'll be dropping a lot more Sorc guides very, very soon. But take care, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.